Hello, I'm Axel, and this time I'm here with Shannon. So, Shannon, please introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what do you do.
I'm Shannon. I'm the coach at Strength Camp, and I'm also the manager of the gym. I come from Bloomdale, Ohio, here in the United States. I grew up on a farm, and now living in Florida.
Can you tell me how do you came across the Strength Camp and what is your background and what led you to come to Strength Camp?
What led me to Strength Camp was after playing college football, I suffered a torn ACL, torn MCL, and torn meniscus in my left knee. And it actually required 3 surgeries to fix it. And so one day, it was after my 3rd surgery, I was sick of going to rehab and sick of not making any progress, not feeling like an athlete like I had for, really since I was a young kid, about 4 or 5 years old. And I had just turned 23. I felt very handicapped in a way, almost disabled from what I used to be. I always consider myself an athlete because that's what I truly am. Is what's led me to where I am today. So I was almost depressed because of that. I couldn't move properly. I wasn't lifting weights. If I was, it was going in for bodybuilding workouts in the gym. I was getting abs and getting upper body muscles looking good, but I wasn't squatting, I wasn't running, wasn't doing any sort of cutting, and as a football player, that's what I was always used to. And so I was searching on the internet one night, and I came across in one of Elliot's videos about hand strength, because my pull-ups were lacking, and because I was in the mindset of if I can't lift my lower body, I at least want to lift my upper body. So I found one of his videos on hand strength, and just, I think as many people do, they watch one of his videos, and then they watch another one, and then this was all on his Strength Camp channel.
Right.
So I was like, whoa, this guy, and I realized later on what attracts, I think, so many of us to him, and to Strength Camp, what we all do here, is that Elliot and Chris present information the way that I listen.
Right.
So a lot of people, even though they might be really popular, the big musclehead dudes, and they get great results,
right.
It's just their energy or the way they were talking to the camera, it just didn't click with how I learn or how I listen, to be able to learn. So I found these guys, and one thing led to another. I was like, well, I tried a few things out that he gave me tip-wise in the gym, and they worked. So I was like, okay, and in the back of my head, the depressed state of me was like, okay, I know that my lower body is, my knee, especially my left leg, is very weak, and that's the thing that's holding me back. So I needed to work on that. I looked up some videos on both Elliot and Chris's channels of how do I rehabilitate an ACL injury, because this was finishing up my 12th week of rehab for just a minor scope to remove scar tissue, and I still wasn't anywhere where I was close to being or even feeling like. So I tried a few things out that they told me to do, and they started working. So it's an amazing thing what happens here at Strength Camp is the confidence that you build. I started to get my mojo back. I started moving. I knew that was holding me back. The lower body started to combine with the upper body again, and I was feeling like my old self. And mind you, I came off my highest high of my athletic career was senior year of college, winning a national championship. That was the goal. That was
right.
Like, you have a goal of winning an Olympic medal. With where I was at in college football, that was the
winning
highest goal.
Yeah,
and I had accomplished that with no left knee, essentially. On torn ligaments, I played through it. It was a lot of pain.
Right.
Totally worth it. Absolutely worth it, in my opinion. But now the effects, I've had to have 3 surgeries, and it kind of held me back later in life. But to me, it's an awesome story that I can continue to tell from years now. But what had led me to Strength Camp was not only the videos, I love those, but I still hadn't, taken the step of signing up for the newsletters or, subscribing to the channel or anything like that. But I actually found Elliot's Elliot Said What channel or whatever his the personal development stuff, and that stuff blew my mind. That was really what had me go all in, if you will, because I was 23. I had, like I said, I'd come off my highest high of winning a national championship in football. I graduated college. I earned 2 business degrees and a minor in entrepreneurship. So I wanted to be in business. I had to spent my entire second semester of my senior year in college, which was the only free semester I had, if you will, because I didn't have any athletic requirements. You know, I was done playing football in December, and I had 1 semester to enjoy of college to be like a normal kid, you know. So it was really cool when I got to enjoy myself. And what was that?
Do you know where you're at?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was really a chance for me to become a normal college student, or to feel like a normal person, because the whole time I was there, it was tunnel vision towards football. And so 2 days after I graduated, I started full time at my job, which I worked for John Deere. I don't know if you farm tractors, farm equipment.
Heard of it, something, but you know, I don't buy farm equipment, so I don't know that precisely.
Well, they're how can I say this? How strength camp is to you of like training, they're that of like farming.
Oh,
They're
I see, like
the number 1 in the world.
Yeah,
you know.
I get you.
So I was working for John Deere. I was, you know, 2 days after I graduated college. I was only 22 years old, and I was working with one of the owners, and it was great. I was on salary, full-time insurance, you know, from day one. Had all my benefits taken care of. I was earning really good money, but I was working like 8 to 5, and then on the weekends it was every other weekend I had to work from 8 to noon or 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. depending on the season. And
that was in Ohio.
That was in Ohio. Yeah, that was after I graduated college. So really, it was really good for me. I'll never, you know, be resentful towards that experience that I had. But what was probably the biggest thing happening in my life was I felt myself, because when I went off to college, I was the only one from my group of friends or family to leave the area. So I grew up on a farm and in the middle of the country, but I went 3 hours away from home to go to school, to play football, and things like that. So I only got to go home and visit every once in a while. And then I stayed a couple summers at school, Mount Union, to train for football, and I had to work and live by myself and things like that. And I was very grateful because it allowed me to grow up and mature. But when I came home, all my friends had stayed there for college, so they always got to hang out with each other, and me being kind of like the leader of my group of friends, or kind of, you know, when I come back home, it's a bigger party because I'm there, and it's, you know, my friends are like family to me. Mm-hmm. So it's like everybody's back together. And so when I got back, it was May of 2013, and I had just started, like I mentioned earlier, to do more rehab with my left knee and feel good about myself. And I was settled into my career in sales, and I was making great money. I actually had a company pickup truck, so I didn't have to pay for anything because I was living at home. Didn't have rent or anything to pay for. Just had to buy lunch, you know, every day that I was working. So in a way, I would label it as I was spoiled in that scenario. And because I had such big goals and accomplished a lot of things for what, you know, people around me or in Ohio do, you know, they don't have, a lot of people don't set really huge goals. You know, I've always been the type of, people think I'm crazy because, like, I say I'm going to do something and then I go do it, and it's like, well, the whole time until I prove that I can do it, they think I'm crazy. You know what I mean? But they're also very supportive at the same time. I'm sure you've gone through
similar situations, more so that they don't believe me than you know.
Exactly, but that's
the support is lacking. Like I'm not over here, but over there. Like But okay.
Until you prove them wrong, right? And then they can't deny it.
Yeah, they're like, I know you have that in you. It's like like nothing special.
So in your situation, you could take that one of two ways. You could be really bitter towards it, or you can accept it and say,
in a way, I had a similar situation with my godfather. He's like, you know, tall people cannot sprint very fast. And then I was like, yo, I got 11 something something. And he's like, oh, damn, that's very fast. And I was like, now, I will come back and tell him my times right now. So
yeah, it felt good, right?
Yeah, I'm looking toward meeting him. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome, man. So because and in the same situation, that's how it was to me. I kind of always had to prove somebody wrong, And now that my athletic career was done, I probably could have had a chance to go professional, things like that. I had the size and speed and experience, but I had no good left knee, so I was kind of
right.
done. My dreams were shattered at that point. But I always wanted to do something bigger than average. That maybe just one step above average or maybe 10 steps above average. But I always set my goals really, really high. That saying, shoot for the stars, because even if you don't hit the stars, you land in the clouds. You're still higher than the ground level, right?
Right.
So I had actually felt that things were back home. They were all in perfect alignment. I was making money. I was saving money because I had big dreams of always wanted to own my own business or start something where I could enjoy life more than being tied to someone else's time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I also
be
really
independent in what?
Yes, independent in every single way, financially, time, things like that. So I also really enjoyed watching Elliot's non-job videos because it just made perfect sense to me, which is what I'm doing now.
Right.
So it's really cool how it all worked out. But I remember since it was May, it was start of the summer. I was home. Everybody was home partying. I had a great summer that first time back. But I remember because we did so much partying, it had felt like I had come down more than one notch from my highest high of athletic career and accomplishments. Yeah. I just wanted to continue to grow, vertically, right? But it felt like I had started to plateau or decline. It's all like in training lingo, but that's what it was, how I'm picturing it. It felt like I was going downhill instead of continuing to climb uphill, or the ladder that you and I spoke about.
Yeah.
So I wasn't getting anywhere towards my goals that I really wanted to. I wasn't challenging myself. Like, the work was easy, and everything just came way too easy. So I was uncomfortable being comfortable. All my needs were taken care of. I was settled in.
Yeah, I got you.
And it was really alarming to me when the boss that I would, the owner that I was working for every day, he said he actually was trying to groom me to take over his position because he had started there when he was 22 years old. At that point, he was 52 years old. So he was 30 years older than me. But he said that was like the end of it, or like, I don't want to say the end of his life, but that's all he did.
End of this, period over there.
He never really challenged himself after that. He did the normal things. He got married. He had kids. Bought a house and got into debt and all this stuff. Buying new trucks and things like that. And I was like, well, how? Not how boring, because that's the wrong word, but how limiting would that be? I felt like I have a really good story to share with people, and I'm not going to get to share the story by talking to farmers all the time. But I loved talking with farmers and just being around them because I grew up like that. I was very comfortable doing that.
That was your environment, right?
Yeah, but and partying with my friends and stuff, I remember, even after the late nights and being drunk and having a great time and stuff like that, I'm praying before I go to bed, and I'm just saying, God, I'm not happy. Don't get me wrong, I had fun, but there was a difference between that feeling in your heart, like a burden in your heart of saying, I'm just not happy where I'm at. So my progression throughout that summer was kind of the same thing, but I was also watching more strength camp videos and getting back into the flow of like training people like an athlete, training myself, and also going further with business knowledge and personal development than I ever had. And I realize now that was a very critical time in my life, young 20s, to experiment, to find new things and figure out what's going to make me happy for the rest of my life. So I signed up for their newsletter, Chris and Elliot's thing, and I was checking my emails one day. Always love. I was soaking up everything. Learning became so much more fun to me because, again, they were speaking how I listen, and they were speaking what I want to listen to.
Yeah.
So it was like everything they were putting out, I was soaking up and utilizing in my life, and it was making those changes that I needed. It put me back into a state of being uncomfortable, but again, I feel almost comfortable being uncomfortable. Like I embrace it. You know, like if somebody says back home for you, I don't think you can run that fast. Well, are you gonna accept it, or are you gonna say, I'm gonna prove you wrong?
I just won't listen. Yeah.
Exactly. So that whole time, I felt like it, and I felt something growing inside of me. You know, they planted a seed, and something was happening inside me. I was crushing work. I was doing really, really well. I was young, successful, so much so to the fact that some people in higher positions within my own company were resentful towards me, and I at the time I didn't know why. You know, it was almost like they were a little jealous or just I don't know. It was a weird feeling, but now I realized it was a problem they had with themselves. They weren't angry towards me. They were probably angry towards me, but they were angry at themselves. If that makes sense.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. So it was like they didn't saw what they want to see in themselves, so they were angry at you that you had what they didn't had.
Yeah, exactly, because
Right.
things were working for me.
Right.
But what they didn't see was all the work that you put in behind the scenes.
Mhm.
When you're on the Olympic track one day, nobody's gonna see all the work, all the technique drills that you've done here at strength camp or on your own, and what you've done each day. You know, of riding your bike to the gym. You know, nobody's gonna see that.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that except a very select few in here, which I'm very grateful for that, for seeing your process through this whole time. And that's just what this place does. You know, so got their newsletter, and I got an invitation to come down for the Strength Camp Clinic, which they put on the summer of 2014. And so it was only the second time I've ever been on an airplane. Flew down from Ohio to Florida, stayed in some sketchy hotel over on 54th and Haynes Avenue called the Knights Inn, where there's like drug dealers. Yeah. Yeah.
Candlelights in.
Exactly. People knock on your door late at night, or you hear voices, and you're like, I'm gonna get robbed, or So, and then that it was like for 2.5 days or something, and I just wanted to show them or to meet these guys, to meet Elliot and Chris, and say thank you for the difference that they've made in my life. And at the time, I was like, I feel really blessed and lucky because I live a good life. And the difference that they made in my life, I was very fortunate when I was growing up. Both parents, raised me and both of my brothers. I had both sets of grandparents still living. They live within 5 miles of me, even though I lived out in the country. They live within 5 miles of me, and they were always there to support me at everything I ever did. But as far as athletics go, because I was so determined to be an athlete at a young age. My brothers were very, very smart, and not that I'm not smart, but they were like very smart, like the highest test scores that you can possibly get every year. And I was kind of like, I did enough to get by, even though I was very smart. I wanted to put my energy towards sports. So when I was there was 16 total people from all over the world that came to the clinic at the old gym, which I don't know if you've ever been to the old gym.
I've never been there, but
It's
of course
tiny.
I've seen the video.
Yeah, it's way smaller than the place that we're at now, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Is where I started, but these guys were from all over the
I
world.
think I saw you in some videos over there also.
Yeah. Yep. So just in the matter of that weekend, it was just basically hanging out, learning what these guys have to say, and kind of getting to talk to them a little bit. And actually, we went to the Avenue, which is downtown. It's a burger place, really good, as on a Saturday night to kind of wrap up the weekend and say thanks for everything. And Chris actually was asking me questions the whole time of, with my athletic background and just how I interact with people and things like that, he asked, he's like, would you ever want to coach, like learn about, that? I said, yeah, absolutely, because I'm not happy where I'm at now, but I said, sure. So I'll never forget it. We were in the middle of a group, and probably like 10 of us were talking, and then I was actually on the back, like near the fences in the corner, and Elliot came up in the middle of the group, and we were all having this conversation, and like everybody stopped. It was like, oh my gosh, Elliot's gonna say something, and he looks right at me. He's like, hey man, he's like, can you? He's like, you got a minute? Can we go talk? And everybody was like, oh, like what do you do? Or you know what I mean? Like they thought it was
Busted.
crazy. Yeah, like, I was like, what did I do? At that time I was like, yeah, sure. What's up, man? And so he pulled me off the side, and him and Chris were there, and they offered me. They got to talking with me, and they said, how would you want to be an intern down here at Strength Camp? I said, well, I'd love that. I said, you guys do what I enjoy watching or learning about, and I think I've got skills to help this journey as well. And so they said, okay, just think about it, and we'll stay in touch with you. So by the time Chris and I had finalized all the details of the internship, he said, I remember, never forget it, I was sitting in my truck at work and got off the phone with him. He said, cool, are you down? He's like, are you down to do this? I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. He said, cool, we'll start in 3 weeks, and hung up. And I remember sitting there like, well, I guess I better go quit my job. Which was very uncomfortable for me too, because like I said, I had it good there. I felt almost spoiled for as hard as I was working,
right,
and as much success as I was having there, but I never felt happy. So 3 weeks later, after I told my family, my friends, and obviously quit my job, but I packed my truck full of stuff that I thought I'd need for 3 months, because that's what we agreed on the internship would be, and moved down to Florida. Drove down, it was a 20-hour drive. I didn't have a place to stay, so I stayed in a hotel for like 4 or 5 days. At the same time, I was started to work at Strength Camp here. First day was an open gym day, so it was very cool at the old gym. We got to, Danny was filming, I think, and got all the toys out. Everybody was playing. It was amazing. And then I found my place to stay on the beach, because I was like, I don't want to live in the city. I'm not from the city. I don't enjoy noise and people who are crazy and things like that. So got a quiet little spot out on Madeira Beach, and I was here for about 2.5 months, and then Chris gave me an opportunity to be more full-time, and it was going to be, more of an entrepreneur, so all the clients that I would bring in that'd be how I got paid.
Oh, I see.
So that has evolved into now moving to a new gym and running full classes, because when it started, I was only helping Chris with his classes, his athletes, the swimmers and football players. And then I actually started a Strength Camp class that was like 3 days a week at 8 o'clock at night. 8 to 9. It was weird. Right. And then we were building the online coaching program.
A lot of people would come to that? Were they able
it was like
to come?
4 or 5. So, but it was, to me, I was like, cool. Like,
at least something, right?
Something, yeah, it started. So then, right at the beginning of the year, after I went home for Christmas, came back, and then Mark started like maybe 2 weeks later, and then probably a week later, after Mark started, we moved over to this gym, installed all the turf. I mean, I got some crazy stories of like before anybody else was here. It was just used to be me, Chris, and Danny in that old gym, because Elliot's got his own office now, and it was just us hanging out, training the whole time, and now we have classes going, 7 times a day. I've got one-on-one clients, we've got online coaching clients, we've got sprinters from Latvia coming over here, working out with us, training, and it's crazy how much time that I think I have invested, but it's such a reward that I get, and the coolest part is that it's only the beginning. Like, this place is gonna explode. So that's how I got here right now. A lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, You know, as any of us who are here have put in or invested, but the reward is definitely there right now. I think it always will be too.
Right. What I want to ask you is, I can relate to your situation that you got the injuries and stuff like that, because I had my dark time of my life when I was injured, and basically I had like 6 months of rehab and I couldn't do anything, and all that led to up, like, I had a couple injuries before that, and I was like, one after another. So I have this belief that you are cured from an injury only when you don't know where the injury was, on which leg or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see that, and do you feel like you're 100% healed from that injury? Is it like a mental trick? Is something like somebody sometimes bothers you, or you feel like, I'm healthy?
Yeah. Good question. I think that's unique to everybody. I for sure know that it's my left knee because now, because I'm right-handed, I should be able to always plant off of my left leg. Because
Yeah.
my right leg is for kicking or whatever. But I can't do that because the nature of my injury and how the 3 surgeries took place is that I'm physically wrong, anatomically wrong. So my ACL, if this is your kneecap, right? It's like a rubber band, right supposed to be in the center, here to pull everything back and to prevent it from hyperextending here or anything like that. So when they did my reconstruction, instead of it being in the middle, they put it too far anterior or too far forward.
Right.
So I only can, go this far when I'm flexing. I'm trying to pull my heel to my butt for a quad stretch.
Yeah.
I can't get it all the way, and if I do that too far, it's gonna pop.
Oh,
So I'm gonna hurt it again. So, and I have other major issues with my left knee as well, and the doctor told me I will only be 75% of my old self. At my healthiest now, I will still only be 75%. If that makes sense.
So you can still work your way up on strength and explosiveness. So maybe you can avoid.
Right. But he said that my limit, because say on my right leg I'll be 100%, and as much strength as I gain there, that'll be my new 100%.
Oh, I see. And
for both legs.
Compared to that, it will be like
compared to my right leg,
lower.
yeah,
Right.
I will only be 75%.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that was
that could be
alarming.
a higher 75%, right? Also.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But still, they won't be balanced enough because of the ligaments and tendons that aren't there or that have been reconstructed. So I had to battle with that during my whole rehab process of knowing that it's never going to be strong and kind of getting over that fear of being able to move
that's what
any sort of lateral direction. Now I'm able to do that because I actually had to take another, I think 6 to 12 weeks rehab after I was done my initial phase because I told them I couldn't play basketball because I wasn't comfortable. I didn't feel like I could just go out and run or juke somebody on the field and not go down. I was scared of tearing it again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the healing process comes, as you mentioned, of not knowing which leg or which area that you injured, because you just don't want to think about it. And I think my experience was, I just don't want to think about it. I want to be comfortable enough with the status of my left knee that I'm not going to think about it if I have to go and play basketball or if I have to go do a drill in the turf to demonstrate or make any sort of cut.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while, but once I finally got over that fear that I was going to hurt it again, I was good. I was able to get it stronger. I had to totally restructure my squat because it was bad. You've seen some people's squats in here where when they first start and it doesn't look very good, and we'll say like, whoa man, your squat's not very good. My squat was like, dude, you need to stop. It was that bad, but I've rebuilt everything where it works now, and so coming back from injury, I think the biggest thing, besides obviously physical strength, is mental strength.
So, I have another question. The reason why I asked the question about injury is because I know you know the basketball player Dominic Wilkins, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had a Achilles injury. He tore his Achilles, but what he said was he had a fear mentality that when he will take off, he might injure himself again or something like that. And then one time he dunked and he fell on the ground. And he was like, "I'm okay," and he just kept on playing. So after a while, he said he just forgot which leg
Mm-hmm.
was injured, and so that's why I asked you. But of course, there are a lot of athletes like Dominic Wilkins, Michael Jordan, and other athletes. So my question to you now is: you've been around sports, of course, not only football, right? You did track, as I know.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think American athletes and American teams are so good at sports?
Well, I was actually thinking about this last night, and I think because America or Americans are free, so like we don't have a dictator, or I'm not sure how it is in your country, but the government's very hard, right, on its citizens.
No, like sports on the priority.
Yeah, yeah. And so because of that, it almost puts like almost makes like the households depressed or non-supportive, as you said earlier, of athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like, as even if you would win an Olympic medal, like the people who are supposed to support
Yeah.
you might they'll be like, oh, cool.
Yeah, there was one thing that it was like a joke from in the media, but it was like, so we cannot get a medal, so why should you can not get a medal? So why should we build a stadium, right? When you get a medal, which we did like last championships, world championships.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, why you need a stadium? You can get a medal without a stadium, right?
Exactly.
So it's like never-ending circle around
Exactly.
something that's dumb.
They just flip the script on you.
Yeah.
It's like so they're not holding up on their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
But so I think because of that, it's like you're always having to prove somebody wrong. So, and this is just my opinion, I think sometimes foreign athletes, even as good as they can sometimes grow resentful towards the sport because that's all they know. Like the Russian Olympic lifters or hockey players or whatever. Those dudes are nuts. Like that's what they do all day, every day. They're very good at it, but I think it takes something a little different mentally or possibly emotionally. Like you got to love the sport. I think American athletes here, like Kobe Bryant loves the game of basketball because he's been allowed to love it. He was never forced to play. It was something that he loved as a little kid, or Michael Jordan, or LeBron James, or anybody.
He wanted to achieve that.
He wanted he wanted to do it, and his family and his friends supported him. And before you know it, his whole high school supported him, and then they go straight to the NBA, and their whole team supports them because they're like #1 draft picks, and then they have success in the league. So everybody's always supporting them, which makes them feel really good about what they're doing. I think in foreign countries it's kind of different, where they might say, to support, the support might not be there.
I get what you're saying. I totally can relate because I think I mentioned in some of our conversations this we had this goalie who played in NHL. So we had a documentary about him, and he said similar to what you said. He said there was like this mentality: if you're not the best, there are like 100 guys behind you that will take your spot.
Mm-hmm.
And you like in this scare mentality. Oh, I have to like be the best, or I'm cut off like my head. So yeah, okay. We're at strength camp, right? So you talk about strength camp will explode. How do you think strength camp will explode? What do you see as strength camp's future? How do you see it, like the future of strength camp?
Well, I would almost base my answer off if I asked you that question. Where would you see strength camp going? And I'll kind of give a little answer before you go, but my answer almost has to be dictated on your answer.
Okay.
Because we're only as good as how we make people feel here, and that's kind of going to determine the scale that we can, reproduce these. I think. I don't know. I'll let you answer.
So the funny thing, I actually thought about this when I was driving with Mark. So we're going US 19, and I see this Walmart, right? And I was like, man, if Shrankan was there, there would be more people who would see it right on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if you had like a Walmart building as big as like Walmart and all the parking lot, like we have a parking lot right now, but still it would be bigger. I mean, like you could build like basketball courts and indoor football fields and stuff like that, and pools and stuff like that. So I don't know how many years it would take, but that's what I see actually, like in the future, like far future. But yeah,
as far as like having one facility of having,
if we want, if you're talking about keeping it as a one facility, I think yeah, but maybe there might be some different facilities over the world.
Oh, I definitely think that. That's the plan. Anyways, I think it'd have a lot of success. It just won't. It's going to take some time because what we do here, it's not going to be like how a CrossFit gym can just pop up anywhere. Like we're going to have to. That's why we take a lot of time with what we do here. We're very meticulous with every little detail that we do, and that we're working on daily. But I think it has a lot of success or a lot of potential for success all over the world because our YouTube channel, our online presence is all over the world. At one point, Mark and I and the other coach, John, had over 65 clients online that, those guys only knew Strength Camp because of the YouTube stuff. They'd never been to the gym. So I think we're going to have a really, it's going to be a great project. It already is, but to have these all over the world, we still have to be very authentic to what we do here. So it's going to take certain people who are like the Elliots and who are like the Chris's, and then I definitely think that's why Mark and myself are here, and then we bring in great interns. Tatiana and Julie, they've done really really well for us, and having the other guys behind the scenes that nobody knows about. Ryan, Josh, Farhan, Michael Cobb when he was here. Dougie when he was here for a little bit. It's amazing what we do, and it's so complex that I don't think it can just be spit out like that. It can't be reproduced so quickly.
Yeah. That's what I think it's
like
multiple year process.
Yeah, it takes I think I was talking with Neil for an Aston Martin. I think it takes them like 6 months to make that car, to make one car. In a factory here, it takes like a Toyota factory. It takes them like 6 hours.
Yeah, but
to
you can totally relate. It's like working out. One workout will make you stronger or faster. It's like a structured plan.
And I think I should ask you, which is going to help both of our answers, is out of all the gyms near or the surrounding countries of Latvia, why did you come to Strength Camp?
Because it's I can totally relate to your story because I had trust in Elliot and Chris and the way they presented themselves, and I really started to work out, and it worked. So you know my story that I worked with Chris online, but the thing is, like, we could do so much. So now we working one-on-one.
Yeah.
So that's basically the reason why I came, because they were talking my language.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we might talk English, but the thing is, like, there are people, they have their terms or something like that, and they speak their own language.
And that had helped build up the trust with you that probably no other coach will have for a while, even probably in the Olympics, because Chris got you started, so like that's the effect that it has on just the grassroots level is you got started here at Strength Camp, and it's only going to continue. So I think as long as we continue to make the people happy within our gym, regardless of what kind of needs they have. Obviously, it's a gym, so we're making them the strongest versions of themselves. But Strength Camp is so much more than that. As you know now, it's personal development. It's how can I make a difference in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts in the gym. I think the fitness industry is huge right now, but I think the way that we're building it up is that we're always going to be very unique. we're not gonna be like LA Fitness or Gold's Gym or even CrossFit. We're gonna be Strength Camp. Like we're gonna be always gonna be a step above those other places because what we do is different. It hits you on all aspects of life. Not on, like I just said with the American sports, we support everything 100%. It's a fun place to come in and train.
Yeah.
Like you feel good. I'm not sure how to really explain that, but other gyms you feel good, but it's the community aspect. It's our core values and the people that we have. Like we truly care, and as long as we have guys like you still coming from overseas, I mean, some of these people would never get to meet a person from Latvia. Now they get to make fun of you because they know you so much, and they get to tease you, and you get to tease them, and go out for dinner and things like that. So that's where else can you do that?
Right. I was talking with Danny, and I actually asked him the same question, and he said, I kind of relate to that because he said strength camp is like a hipster thing. It's not mainstream.
Yeah.
But strength camp is growing in a way that it will become the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
totally like kind of like growing and overcoming all the mainstream things that are mainstream right now and coming from hipster to mainstream.
Yeah. But the cool thing is, I know exactly what he means. The cool thing is, if we're labeled like as a hipster now, is that when we become mainstream, we're gonna kick the door down and still be a hipster. Like that's still our identity. We're still gonna be strength camp. Right. We're just happen to be mainstream now. Mm-hmm. Like we're never gonna because a lot of companies will go mainstream and like that's the coolest thing, and then what happens? It's trendy. Yeah. It gets cool for a while and then it dies down. But if we remain authentic with what we do, like not only we're going mainstream, like I said, kicking the door down, but like we're here to take over and we're staying. So I think that's what like is the coolest part about it all. So it's only gonna get better.
Right. Of course, another component of strength camp is training. That's a big part of it. So can you tell me about how do you program all these programs that you program over here at strength camp, and what are the goals and how can you achieve it? Because one thing what I thought about yesterday was I've been here like for a while, and I'm like, in this period of time back in Latvia, I would have gotten some sort of injury, but I'm like, where's the injury? Like, and it's like, oh, the training is good, right? So it's the right way to train, and it's the good way to train.
And what happens when it's the right way to train? You have a lot more fun with it, right?
Yeah.
And each workout individually, you get stronger each time. So the thing is, what I learned from Chris learned from Elliot learned from all the best, Paul Check, and he's one of the greatest minds of our time right now. But when I go into program a workout, it's keeping everything balanced. So having a well-balanced program and then adding, different levels of intensity each week and, upping the periodization, things like that, and then also programming a deload, it allows you to really focus on what I'll always say, one rep at a time, one set at a time, just finish. It's like you're not looking for the end of the workout, or you're not racing against the clock for a certain amount of reps that you should get. It's if you come here, since we're strength and conditioning, I'm going to make you strong, and also I'm going to make you really well balanced because we do all the primal movement patterns. Like if you can't do a push-up, why am I going to have you do an overhead press or a bench press? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so, and we're very good at
being in control of your body before you.
Absolutely, yeah. So and that's what an athlete's all about, right? The best athletes in the world, they don't have imbalances. I'm not going to train somebody if you come in and you have an awesome bench press. Why would I make you a better bench presser? Like if you got
your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you have a good bench, you probably have a bad squat. Or for an example, say you have a bad squat. I'm going to focus on making your squat really good, while still maintaining where your bench is at, but to bring your squat up too. If your bench is up here and your squat's down here, you're not going to lower yourself. Like let's keep this where it's at and grow. Like that's growing stronger, right? And we do so much core strengthening exercises and so many different variations of each compound movement that we're not just isolating your biceps all the time. Even though we do some of that, and it's important to have bigger biceps and stronger biceps, and also to look good, right? But it's all for a purpose. So, as far as keeping people safe, this is, in my opinion, like probably the most effective style of training that you can do. Now, it's a little different, as you know, when we go into more sport-specific things. The training changes. We're using different energy systems of the body. We're focusing on different muscles. For you, it's a lot of technique work and getting your stride down, and then because of that work, we can plug you into any of the lower body workouts and just say, dude, lift heavy, right? And at that point, you can be really focused on your craft during the technique work. Focus on being the best sprinter that you can, best sprinter, in the world. That should be your dream every rep that you're going through it. Then it's kind of easy to, when you go into a heavy squat or something, turn your brain off. Your deadlifts the other day, it's easy. It's only the 5 sets of 2, right? Turn your brain off, lift that bar off the ground. Now, we're always there to coach you to make sure your form's good, but as an athlete, it's kind of relaxing, right? To say, I don't have to focus as much. You still have to have a high level of focus, but it changes.
Right.
You don't have to be always, critiquing yourself from your stride, or if your hand placement's wrong, or you don't have a 90-degree bend at your elbow. It's like you just have to lift the heavy weight with proper form. So it's really effective, I think, and obviously it's made a huge difference with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not the only one. We've had hundreds, so it's cool, man. It's really crazy. Like I said, in my opinion, I think it's probably one of the most effective ways of training somebody.
So, one last thing, maybe you want to ask me something or wish people well or something like that?
Both.
Both?
I absolutely want to wish you well, man.
Okay.
I think and with me, I can be hard to read. I'm very aware of that, but it's for a purpose too. When you first came in, I wanted to be harder on you because I wanted to set the tone, because the reason you came to strength camp was not to have a lot of friends, right? Even though that's happened as a result, but I wanted to be hard on you. I didn't know who you were from day one. You gave me a box of chocolates at 5:30 in the morning.
I felt like I know you,
Right.
from watching all the videos.
Yeah.
I felt like I knew you.
And that's crazy.
Same with Mark.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that. But I said, I was saying to myself from day one, I want to make you the best athlete that you can be. So that's why I was a little hard. I'm still hard on you, but it's different now that you know
But it's
my
like
expectation.
Structure-wise hard. It's not like meathead.
Right,
hard.
I'm not
It's
being a dick to you.
Yeah.
It's for a reason,
Yeah.
and I think probably in the beginning you might have been confused, or anybody can be confused at that. But if you're coming in here to strength camp to train, that's my job. I'm going to train you like an athlete, how I've been trained, and how, I have a lot of confidence in my skills and abilities because I've had a lot of success with my athletic career, and I attribute that to good coaches I've had in the past. It's all a blessing, but I've been able to utilize it and max it out every time.
Right.
Learn something new from each coach. So, yeah, absolutely. I want to wish you the best of luck. You've not raised the bar in my mind of your standards, but I think you've raised your own bar. So now, we thought you were a level 1 sprinter, and at Olympics it takes a level 4 sprinter, or for just an example.
Yeah.
You now know what at least a level 2 is like, or level 3, or what that level 4 is. You're not training with a bunch of scrubs down here. How many times did you get worked in some of the workouts? That's why I'm hard on you on Saturdays. I make you go twice because it's tough, but the way I've always been taught or coached, and maybe it's just my personal style, is I want more.
Yeah.
I'm greedy with it. Like, I want more. I want to go harder because I want to be the best. And in my athletic career, I've had a lot of success or ended up being the best. So I think good luck is definitely in order for you. I think a lot of praise because you've come in here, and even if it's something as the other day when I just told you to do 60 push-ups,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I kind of laughed because it was funny, but it's for a reason. Like I want you to, you know,
I wasn't like oh
yeah, you weren't sulking around about it and questioning why. It's just like, no, the coach says do 60 push-ups, do what the coach says, and I think not only, maybe I'm wrong because I've never been outside of this country, but I think a lot of Americans can use that some tough love. So, and I grew up old school, very traditional, and like I had a lot of tough love taught to me. So I think and it was effective for me, and if I'm in this position now, it's not by accident. So I can show tough love to you and to the other athletes that I have, and that's how you get results. Because life is not easy. You know, that's kind of what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
Life's not easy, so I want to make you conditioned for that.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, you know, you're like, oh, you want to be that and that? Okay, this is what that and that goes through, right? So
Yep.
you better back it up. So I was like, you know, even through the sleds, like, look like nah. I have that like this picture sometimes, like you know, just push through it, and then I try to make the best.
Yeah.
Sometimes like you know, I told you this one time that what you call that about overthinking and then you paralyze.
Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, paralysis by analysis. So yeah, it was like I sometimes do that, and so it's like right now I could have gone faster on those sleds like a couple hours ago, but still like I did faster than a couple others guys.
Right.
So
and that's a fine line too. Of don't beat yourself up of like that you didn't go your hardest. Yeah, you can be mad about it, but don't be bitter.
my heart was jumping out, so
yeah,
I don't know
that was the hardest that you could go right then, right? Yeah. So now you know for the next time you're on the sled, remember that. Push a little bit harder. On those sprints on Saturday when you had to race Natalia, straight up you could have beat her every time. You could have blown her out of the water, right? But you had already gone once, which is why I made you go again, and why I made you go even further.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact that Natalia is one of my best athletes in the women's class. I love the work ethic she gives. She was going to give 110% because she was determined to beat you. So, as a coach, I kind of had to manipulate a little bit and make it a little uneven because when I have two athletes, regardless of the skill level, giving their hardest effort, that's when you get stronger. That's when you grow. You break through plateaus. It was challenging, right? I made you go an extra 5 yards on a bear crawl, and I made you run an extra 10 yards to touch the wall and back. And one time she ended up beating you. That's because you slipped or whatever reason. But then the other times, it was a race to the finish line, right? Now,
it's
easy,
defensive stance.
yeah. It's going to be easy for me to say now, though, when you're on the Olympic track, remember how to finish. That guy's in front of you, remember that day. Or remember how hard those prowler sled pushes were. Or remember how tough it was to squat that day, or whatever, and why I'm yelling at you, and why Chris is yelling at you, and why Mark is yelling at you, and why Julie is yelling at you, and why Elliot's yelling at you, and why everyone on your team was yelling at you, and probably why everyone on the other team was yelling for you too, because we see that drive that you have. When you have that drive, it's contagious to everybody. It makes them better. Like I told you, how to raise your level to the next, raise your game to the next level. You're helping them raise their level to the next game.
Yeah.
That's what I want to instill in strength camp. Competition. Make it healthy though. Don't beat yourself up about prowler sprints 2 hours ago, because now you're relaxed and you feel good. But still, yeah. Use it though. Use it for fuel, not for resentment. Because it can eat you up.
I will.
So, and I've been there too. I think we've all been there. But it's staying healthy. Take deloads. Take deloads on everything. You should relax a little bit. Continue to read. Write things down. I love the fact that you journal everything. That's huge. And I think if anything, what I've told myself and what I've told a lot of people in the past is that my story, Mark's story, Chris's story, Elliot's story, your story, it's gonna make a really good story someday. It's a good story now, but like when you've had that success,
don't stop.
Don't stop, but just keep writing it down because you don't know how many people you're going to inspire.
Right.
Elliot has 1.5 million of subscribers. Like, he just started putting videos out one day. You don't know how many people you can influence, even if it's just something on social media. So, and just be smart about whatever you put up. But Yeah, I think that should you should always have that big goal to be a sprinter in the Olympics one day to win a gold medal. That's a huge lifelong dream. Cling to that as long as you can. Work as hard as you can every single day towards it, and then it's just a matter of finding the right people to support you and train the right way, and then also staying humble enough to appreciate whatever I label it as God. I think everybody should, but if you just label it as the universe or whoever else is your savior, accept what they're trying to say because it'll work out in your favor. Just
Right.
stay to it. You know what I mean? And I think you've done a good job at that. So I wish you the best of luck, my friend.
You're like my big brother, right? As I told you, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that makes me feel good. Makes me feel like I'm doing my job.
Right. Good.
Cool,
So-
man.
It's good.
All right. Let's